All right, Caitlin, are you ready to roll?
Yes, go ahead and get us started here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Leslie Forrester. I'm the board president for Missouri Citizens for the Arts, and I also happen to be the executive director of the Springfield Regional Arts Council. And so I'm so glad to be with you all today as we start getting ready for making our trek to Jeff City and making our phone calls and emails to our legislators about the arts. So today we've got tons of information. My job is to just do the housekeeping stuff and then pass it off to the true experts in Kyna and Representative Crossley and Margaret. So I just want to give you a little information about Missouri Citizens for the Arts. It is a nonpartisan statewide grassroots organization. We advocate to secure funding and financial support for the arts to benefit Missouri and all of its citizens. It is a 501c4 organization, so predominantly what we do is advocacy work. We've been around since 1980 and doing this work in advocacy. It is a member-based organization. So also part of my job is to encourage you to consider being a member if you're not already. Whether you're on the call, if you are representing an organization that currently gets or hopes to get funding from the Missouri Arts Council, you should absolutely be making the investment to be a member in MCA. And there's lots of ways to do that. So if you have interest, check it out on the website. If we see you in Jeff City in a couple of weeks, thank you, Margaret, for posting it in the chat as well. We'll have paperwork you can fill out and become a member then. It's really easy, and it has a huge impact. And the things that we're going to be talking about today is impacted by that membership. So please, please, please consider exploring that membership. We are governed by a board of directors, and we have a two staff, a part-time administrator who's Caitlin, and has put all of these materials together and organized today's Zoom call, and Kyna Iman, who is our legislative consultant and has her ear to the ground and really is up to date about what's happening in the legislature. And so you'll certainly be hearing from her shortly. On our board of directors, we have this list you're seeing in front of you is our executive committee, made up of several folks that are representing areas of the state. So we have vice presidents that focus on work and gathering advocates in their area, and you can see those folks here. And then we have the members at large, which is on the next slide. And the important thing to note here is that every single person on this list is a volunteer. So if you ever have interest in being a part of the board, getting more plugged in, there's always a need for representation from every inch of the state, and making sure that we have advocates that are involved in that way. We also want to say thank you to the sponsors of Arts Advocacy Week, that help pay for printing and making sure we have the folders that we need to deliver to legislators and all of the different pieces of that. So here's a list of who those sponsors are, and we are very, very grateful for their contributions and support, because it certainly demonstrates their passion for the arts and the importance of Arts Advocacy Week. So all the boring stuff's out of the way. The really good stuff I want to hand over to Kyna, to give us an update about what we're asking for, what we're advocating for, and where we are in the process. Kyna?
Okay, thanks, Leslie. And we really appreciate all of Leslie's leadership. She puts a lot of time in as a volunteer board member, but chairing the committee and making sure all our meetings run smoothly. So thank you for your time. I want to get started on our MCA advocacy agenda. We're hoping everybody is going to be joining us at the Capitol on February 5th. Caitlin has all the details on that later in the presentation. But the key thing is knowing what we're asking for. And as you know, our key ask is always for increased funding for the Missouri Arts Council. We were successful the last couple years in stabilizing $10.1 million for the Missouri Arts Council. So this year we are asking for an increase of $1.9 million that would fund various programs that MAC has designated that they could use increased funding for, which would bring us up to a total ask of $12 million for the Missouri Arts Council. As you know, we receive funding from the non-resident professional athletes and entertainers tax. We call that the A&E tax. Technically, by statute, we should be receiving 60% of those collections, which would be closer to 20 million. However, that money is subject to appropriations that has to go through the House and Senate Appropriations Committee every year. And so we are slowly working our way up to that $20 million mark and hope to get there sooner than later. But we felt like this year we could justify asking for the $1.9 million increase to help arts in our schools. One of the other programs they're increasing funding for is reaching seniors, military, and veterans and people with disabilities, and having the arts have an impact on their health and wellness, and also increasing funding throughout the state by creating more local arts agencies throughout the state. So that is the Arts Council ask. We also have 4 cultural partners that also receive funding from that athlete and entertainers tax. They're the State Library Fund, the Humanities Council, Public Broadcasting, both TV and radio in the state, and the Missouri Historic Preservation Fund under the Department of Natural Resources. And then we also advocate for more arts education in our schools through STEAM programs and also full funding for DESE through the foundation formula and also transportation funding. And one of the last things we fund or request is funding for the Missouri Fine Arts Academy, which is a fabulous residential program in the summer. It's been held at the Missouri State University in Springfield. This is for outstanding gifted students in visual arts, theater, dance, creative writing, and music. And it's just a life-altering program. That is also on a same line item as the Missouri Scholars Academy, that is for gifted kids in math and science. So we are requesting $1 million to support those programs. And then, as always, we're looking for more capital improvement funding in the budget for our cultural facilities around the state. So right now, the legislature just convened January 8th. They swore in 163 members of the House. That breakdown, as you can see, is 111 Republicans and 51 Democrats. And then in the Senate, there are 34 members of the Senate, 24 Republicans, 10 Democrats. Out of that makeup, this year is probably one of the largest freshman class I've seen in a while. There's 54 new House members that we have to educate. So as you can see, that's a lot of new folks. And then in the Senate, there are 10 new senators, but 9 of those new ones have served in the House before. So we have 1 new senator from Kansas City that we need to educate on the arts there. And Governor Kehoe was just sworn in last Monday as the new governor. And so both House, Senate, and the executive office are all majority Republicans. So this is just a quick rundown on some advocacy tips on how you can be more informed. We love for you to come to Jefferson City. If you can't come on February 5th, I'm there every day. I would love to have you join me. Leslie was there with the Springfield Chamber, 2 weeks ago or last week? And so we are always happy to have you come and advocate for the arts. I will encourage you prior to coming to please take a minute to look on the House or Senate website to find out who your legislator actually is. It will give you their webpage, and so you can get contact information. You can see a picture of what they look like. So when you get to the Capitol, you can track them down and find their offices. But just take a few minutes to do a little homework before you get to the Capitol. And then the key thing that we want all advocates to do is to build a relationship with these folks because it's just like marketing. You can't, it's hard to sell a product if you don't know the person. It's a lot easier to sell a product to your friends. And so if you have that relationship ahead of time and you've followed up with them and remained in contact with them throughout the year, not just when you need something, but to also say thank you, it makes it a lot easier to step back in and make that ask for the next year. And just get to know them. You're the face of the arts in your community. And so letting them know where you're spending those Missouri Arts Council dollars just puts a face with a line item in the budget, makes it so much more personal. So when they're making some hard decisions on the budget, um, and they know they're going to come home to you as a constituent and have to answer whether they voted yes or no for you, it just makes it a lot easier if you have that relationship already established. So next slide. So once again, like I said, you're the expert, you're the arts person. There's so many issues that come across these legislators' desks. They just don't have time to understand every one. And so at MCA, we try to make your job easier as an advocate to know who to write to at the right time and what's going on in the Capitol, because it certainly doesn't help to write a senator in February when the budget starts in the House. That's when we need you writing and talking to your state rep. So check your action alerts. MCA will send those out timely before votes. If you don't know an answer to a question, this is just please don't ever make up something. Get with me or get with some of our board members and just tell them you'll get back with them. So next. So a lot of people ask me what's an effective way to actually reach out to your state rep or state senator. Um, you know, days of writing a personal letter are kind of over. They will still answer an email, but a lot of them text now. So if you've established that relationship and have their contact information in your phone, just makes it that much easier to get a hold of them and let them know what we need, them to vote on. Would love to have you, like I said, come to the Capitol on February 5th. Face-to-face meeting is always the best. And then if you're not able to do that, these folks are back in the district on Monday mornings or Fridays. Try to get them in to see your performances. If you have an exhibit set up, just invite them to come visit your space or sit down, have a cup of coffee with you, and explain to them why you think arts funding is so important to your district. And then always, leave a business card, establish that relationship, and don't forget to say thank you because these folks don't get thanked enough for all the hard work they go through every week. So with that, I don't know if Representative Crossley is off his train ride yet or not. I've kind of zoomed through those. There he is. Looks like he's still riding the train. But so Representative Crossley is from Independence, Missouri, Eastern Jackson County. He's served on Budget Committee and has been extremely supportive of the arts. And so we're just so happy you could jump on the call for us today and just say a few words of wisdom coming from a state rep on how arts advocates can be better prepared for our Advocacy Day.
Absolutely. And hey, I'm getting off the train right now. Can you give me like 15 seconds?
Yeah,
I
no
was hoping
problem.
we would make the stars align, but here we go.
Okay. No,
It's been
we can definitely cover. One of the things I did want to go over with you guys,
got it.
Caitlin will
Watch stuff
have
coming down.
advocacy packets ready for you guys for Advocacy Day that have a lot of information on them about the economy of the arts, how much money that the arts generate, statistics like MAC supported 476 grantees in over 192 communities last year. And also just want to make sure that you guys know that MAC funding goes to 100% of the Senate district. So if you're going in to visit your senator, we will have a list of the activities that are funded in that senator's districts. And we have funding in all but 7 House districts. So if you think about that, that's 156 House districts that we have performances, exhibits, or some type of arts education program going on in their district. So that is a really good advocacy selling point, I think, when you're speaking to your legislator. I met with the new House Budget Chair yesterday. His name's Dirk Deaton, and went over some of these requests that we're asking that $1.9 million increase for. And he was particularly interested in the new music office and also funding more programs for military and veterans. So if you just do a little homework before you get there and kind of see what the person's background is, and kind of maybe, do they have kids in school? Do they like arts education? Do they live in a rural area, or are they in the suburban area? Kind of see what their likes are, and then just hit on those topics. So, all right,
I'm
Aaron, are
settled.
you?
Sorry about that. Of course, it had to happen like right when I was getting off. Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Crossley. I see a few familiar faces and names on the call, but it's great to see you or meet you, and looking forward to having you down in the Capitol in a couple of weeks. I represent Southern Independence, which I'm just now getting back to for the week, and have done that for 2 years. So I've just entered into my third year in the legislature, enjoying screaming into the void for our community at times, but have also been able to get some helpful things done. And as Kyna mentioned, I've worked on some things in the arts. I'm a social worker by trade, and so I understand how the arts impact our mental health and our physical health, and how helpful they are, and happy to continue advocating for those. I think the most helpful things for me when it comes to having folks come down to the Capitol is a little bit of everything. It's helpful to have an email beforehand saying, hey, we're going to be down in a couple of weeks, and would love to meet with you if you have time, or to pull you off the floor. Maybe send your one pager that you're going to bring with you then, so that we have time to look over it. And then when you're here, setting an appointment in the Capitol, or finding us in the hallway, pulling us off the floor. We are kind of moving at 100 miles an hour now that bills have started moving. And so if you schedule an appointment with your legislator or a legislator and they have to cancel or move it, it is nothing personal. It's just that committee hearings get thrown on our calendar, sometimes right at 24 hours in advance. Other things come up that we have to deal with, but I am always happy, and I know most of my colleagues are happy for you just to pull us off the floor. If we're in debate, you can go to the doorman and ask him or her to come get us. And I think after you leave, sending an email, as kind of mentioned, following up, and then before you want anything, just in the interim, emailing, calling your state representative and senator, and introducing yourself, letting them know, I'm Aaron. This is my professional expertise that I have. And if this subject comes up, please lean on me and rely on me as an expert in the field. Certainly not all of my colleagues, but most of my colleagues understand that they don't understand everything, and they don't have all of the world's knowledge that they need to legislate well. Again, there are a few in every field that think that they understand it all, but we have thousands of bills that are considered each session, and several that come across our desk. And a great example for me is, I'm on budget, and I have experience with that in an organization. I'm on the subcommittee for health, mental health, and social services. Obviously, as a social worker, I have a pretty deep knowledge of that. But I last year served on utilities, and I have no experience in that, except one time I installed a light fixture in my house and it didn't catch on fire. And so I felt really great about that, but that's about it. And I need experts in utilities and in that field from all different perspectives to come share their knowledge, expertise, and wisdom so that I can pass bills that are good for the most amount of people. And so as we're considering art funding, I think it's really important that you engage not only when you come down to visit, but throughout the year, so that you are recognized as that expert for folks. I don't think that I've missed anything, but Kyna, is there anything else that you think that I should add or that you want me to elaborate on?
No, I think that is great, Representative. We really appreciate you jumping on, and I know you've got a
Yeah,
busy schedule. We appreciate you attending the
sorry,
advocacy training session at
sorry to.
RTC on
Yeah,
Friday.
I love you guys. I mean, I music and theater were my sports in high school, and so it's something that has been a lifelong passion for me, and something that I just understand how deeply it has impacted me. And I'm sorry to be logging in from what looks like a hostage situation this afternoon.
No, we appreciate you giving us a call in on your way back from the Capitol. And
Yeah,
one question I have you gotten any, well, I know the governor will give his State of the State address on Tuesday,
right,
and then we'll kind of get a budget outline of what his recommendations are after that.
correct.
And you guys will start working and having hearings. And that's why, by the way, for all of you online, why we meet when it's freezing the first week of February is because it's right when the House
Yep.
Budget Committee starts doing their markup and work. So we want to be early to the table for the
Yep.
ask. But what are you hearing as far as outlook on funding for next year? Are there going to be increases, or I'm hearing the budget may be kind of flat?
Yeah, kind of what I've heard, and you're right. So Monday we have our first organizational meeting as a budget committee. Wednesday and Thursday we start hearing from different departments on at 8:15 both of those mornings. So we are moving. From what I've heard is that yes, the budget in most places will be flat, and in fact, when it comes to some educational resources, I'm hearing that there may be some reductions. So, it sounds like those are some big priorities for all of you to make sure that we're funding our educational systems. So I think coming down and advocating for those right now is really important so that we can restore any funding that might be cut in the governor's budget.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you jumping on. Safe travels home.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a great one.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.
All right, Margaret, I think you're up next.
That's me. Next slide. I'm Margaret Keogh with Mid-America Arts Alliance, and thank you for having me here. You're as the representative mentioned, you're an important part of this process. Adding your voice, your perspective on what the arts mean to you and your community are so key. You're part of Missouri's kind of tapestry of what it means to be a Missourian. And those dollars allocated by the state are met by federal dollars from both the National Endowment for the Arts and Mid-America Arts Alliance. In fact, 40% of the dollars awarded to the National Endowment for the Arts at the federal level, 40% come back to the state and regional. So it's so important for you right now to go in, as Kyna mentioned, do your homework. And, her quote in so many ways is meet them before you need them and know them before you need them. And, it's your time to be the cheerleader for the arts. There's so many advocates at the Capitol at any time that the arts shouldn't feel that they shouldn't be there. So next slide, please. I'm going to add a few data points, not too many. I've got a lot, and I'll give you my contact information later. You can certainly reach out to me if you'd want more. But, nationally, the arts and creative sector, or arts and culture sector, is a $1.1 trillion sector in the U.S. economy. It is 4.3% of the gross domestic product. It trades at a surplus internationally. It's larger than agriculture. It's larger than transportation. So, we've got a lot of economic power behind us as a creative sector, or just as a sector itself. More than 5 million Americans are employed by the arts. Now, in Missouri, it's a hefty $11.5 billion of the state's economy, almost 3%, and 94,000 Missourians work in the arts and creativity. And in Missouri, it's larger than agriculture. When you share those numbers with your legislators, many find it surprising. They have, there's a lot of, utility advocates, farm advocates, other advocates in those houses that are showing up in big numbers because they get paid to do it. But as an arts advocate, it's your chance to go in and say, look, we're making up 3% of this state's economy, and we, can really turn the investment of 12 million into 11.5 billion. And there's no better return on investment through the arts, I would argue. Next slide, please. And recently, the National Endowment for the Arts conducted a participation survey. Missourians participate kind of at the national average, but there's some really interesting points where we were above average. 64% of Missouri adults have taken art lessons at some point in their life, compared to just 55% of Americans. They've taken music lessons at a higher level. And I like this last stat: 13% of Missouri's adults donate to arts organizations or projects. They've done that within the last 12 months, compared to just 10% of Americans at the national average. So we're putting our investment behind our interests, and we're expecting, the state to do the same because those dollars, really generate more dollars. Next slide. And then we know we're great partners. Representative Crossley mentioned health care and mental illness care. We're great partners in economic development. Cultural tourism is people who travel to enjoy cultural tourism stay longer and spend more than just the average tourist within the state and across the country. We create a creative workforce and help people stay in their communities. There's a pride of place when you have the arts in your community. It's what makes you distinct and really retains employees, and why people decide to raise their families in their communities. We know, of course, arts education is part of what makes a well-rounded student, and I'd argue what makes a well-rounded community. So, not every kid, as Representative Crossley said, his sports were theater and music, I believe. Not every kid's going to grow up and be an accountant or an engineer, and we don't want them to be. We want some creative thinkers out there as well. And so, we know we're great partners, and I'd lean into that story in your community. Find those ways you make an impact in your hometown. Next slide. So when you're getting to the Capitol and meeting with your legislator, whether you meet with the legislator in person or their legislative aide, and always assume that legislative aide is going to share your story with the legislator, because, they're a team in so many ways. Think about in advance, how has funding or programming from the Missouri Arts Council or the Fine Arts Academy impacted you, your business, your family, your community? And your job really, or among your jobs, or kind of what you're trying to do is not just share your passion for the arts, but when you're making your ask, think about why they should care about the arts. Not everybody is as tuned in as Representative Crossley, maybe. So you're going to have your story where they're going to see, yeah, that does make a difference in Columbia. When you think about Hannibal, you're thinking about the arts. When you're thinking about Kansas City, or the true false festival in Columbia or St. Louis, you think about the arts, but the arts and creative people are throughout the state, and it's part of what makes you strong. Next slide. And so there's my contact information, just margaret@maa.org. If I can share more information with you or try to get more stats for you, I'm happy to do so. And we'll see you in Jeff City on February 5th. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Margaret. All right. My name is Caitlin Davis, and I am the administrator for MCA. I am just going to share kind of our next steps that we have after this training that you can take. So like we discussed, you should make plans to contact your legislator, whether you're scheduling a meeting with them on Advocacy Day or kind of planning another call with them around Arts Advocacy Week. Any of those options work. You should just start to get in contact now so you can start building that relationship. You can also review our advocacy agenda and make sure you know those talking points that we've gone over. That information and the tips are also in our advocacy toolkit, which I will link in the chat here shortly as well. And then really prepare what you're going to say. So come up with, your short elevator pitch, if you will, about how you can share your story with your legislators. What facts do you want to include? How can you show the arts in their district? And then it's also great to engage with MCA on social media. So you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, X, and then you can share our materials. It would be great for us to have a great cohort at Advocacy Day. So the more that you share our, invitations to Advocacy Day, our tips, things like that, the more people we can get in the Capitol talking about the arts on Advocacy Day. And then it's also great to share on your own social media how you're advocating and engaging with legislators about arts advocacy. So a couple things I want to go over too is our Adopt a Legislator program. I'll have another slide about that next, but this is a great way for you to sign up and say, I'm committed to talking to this legislator. It can be your own legislator or maybe the legislator that's near your district or in the district that you work in. If your legislator is taken, that's okay. You can still talk to them and maybe choose someone else that's just in your region. And so we are asking anyone who adopts a legislator to stay in contact with that legislator after Arts Advocacy Week and really commit to sending them updates, asking them when there are different movements and votes coming up in the legislature. And then also, if you have not registered yet, there is the link to register for Arts Advocacy Day on February 5th. We're advocating in the Capitol, and we'll have a briefing to just go over, up-to-date information and asks that you should have for your legislator. That will start at 10 in the Truman office building. So that's like kind of diagonal from the Capitol. And then we'll have some regional lunches set up on the 4th floor. And then you will set up your own meetings with legislators that day throughout the day. You can feel free to, have them before the briefing or leave a little early and meet with those legislators. That's the most important part of the day. And then the Missouri Arts Council Awards will take place on the 1st floor rotunda at 1 p.m. So this is our Adopt a Legislator program. It's a sign-up genius if you're familiar with that. So you can pick your region up at the top, click the legislator that you would like to adopt, click save, add your information there and sign up. And then you will have committed to discussing and adopting that legislator for you. All right, and then I know we talked a little bit about membership at the beginning, but I just wanted to give a thank you to all of our members that we have. We do rely on these to stay in operation and make sure that Kyna is in the Capitol every day of session for us. So I'll just go through briefly the members that we do have. If you don't see your name on this list and you want to become a member, I will drop the link to join us in the chat here shortly as well. And if you think you are a member and you don't see your name listed, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd be happy to check on that for you. And then there's also a QR code that you can scan as well. All right, now we are going to move on to our Q&A portion. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to drop those in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask, raise your hand, any of those options.
Great to see everybody.
I see Abby.
Yeah, I feel really ignorant asking this question, but I guess it hasn't sunk into me. Give me so someone give me us a quick update, or if it's in some written materials, we'll get before the week on the music bill. I'm sitting here going, what exactly is that?
Okay, the new music office. Okay, this will be in your packet that Caitlin talked about, the advocacy toolkit. But under our advocacy agenda, remember I asked for we're asking for the $1.9 million. And so the Missouri Arts Council actually at their meeting in October came up with 3 goals that they are wanting to put that $1.9 million to. Um, One of them I stated is engaging people in meaningful art experiences. That's through arts and health, reaching seniors, military, and veterans, and people with disabilities. One of the goals is working with A+ Schools Consortium to help Missouri educators use the arts to transform whole schools through a research-based strategy. And then the other one is to grow Missouri's economy using the arts. And that would be, so one of the points under that is developing a Missouri music office within the Missouri Arts Council with an existing music economy specialist working with St. Louis, Branson, and Kansas City, and building efforts in music-friendly communities on a statewide level. So, one of the things this came about when we were in Branson they won the creative community 2 years ago. And if you think about it, when Branson took off, what, 30 years ago, maybe, you had a lot of big names. Andy Williams, you had Roy Clark, you had Barbara Mandrell. They all had their own show palaces. Well, you still have those palaces there, those theaters there, but you don't have the big names drawing them in. And so I think when Johnny Morris opened the big amphitheater there at Big Cedar or somewhere south of Branson, and Garth Brooks came in, it started them thinking like, how can we do this on a more consistent level? Or maybe like Las Vegas does, do residencies in Branson where you would maybe bring in, I don't know, I'm saying Lainey Wilson for a month, or, some professional rock star or something. So that's kind of what they're exploring in wanting this music specialist to look into. How do you build that community back?
Thanks. I obviously drifted off during some recent meetings because I'm like, I'm not sure I know what that is. That's very helpful,
Yeah,
particularly
but
being
I
from
think
Kansas
it's very
City.
creative. And actually, the House Budget Chair was like, yeah, that makes sense, because I think they told us there's 122 shows down there in a week. So there's a lot of shows bringing a lot of people into town. There just aren't a lot of the big names anymore. So, good question. Any other questions, Ben?
Oh, oh my goodness, sorry. My dog. I was just gonna say I'm friends with Dirk Deaton, so that works out very nicely. I've already messaged him and said I'm coming up. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
That's great, Kristen.
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm very well connected around here. My husband is a just retired judge.
Okay,
So
fantastic.
I can help you.
All right. Our
I
ace
can
in
do.
the hole there. All
Yeah,
right.
I
We're
will
gonna
help
definitely.
in all kinds of ways. So I'm here.
Okay, good. Put you to
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Thank
Put me to
you.
work. I know so many people. So I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry
Well,
about my
reach
dog.
out to us. I'm glad you're coming up.
Oh, I am so excited about doing this. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Patty, I know you had your hand
Hi,
up.
Kyna, thank you. Just a quick question about this great information. Is it possible we could see some of it before that day? It takes me a while to integrate it and, get it in my head, and then I get a little overwhelmed on the day getting so much information on the bus and then at
Yeah.
the production.
So I think Caitlin has already put it out in the advocacy toolkit where
Oh,
you
okay.
registered. So we'll
Okay.
send it out again.
No, I
we
can access it through that. That's fine.
signed up today. So is it on our advocacy agenda, Caitlin, or?
Yes, so there's some information about those increased categories in the toolkit as well as our advocacy agenda. And then we'll also share the slides out that were presented today, which have some of those stats from the Mid-America Arts Alliance.
Yeah, my handwriting was not quick enough on all this. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Yeah.
There'll be a recording and the slides shared afterwards.
Yeah.
I would just say to those of us who've been doing this for a while, and thanks to Caitlin's great work, the whole agenda is much easier to read now. It's briefer, it's bullet points, it's got graphic designs, more what people are going to be able to absorb. So if we're looking for those, kind of pages and pages and stuff, we don't have to do that anymore. And I think it's easier to get to exactly what you want to talk about. Because for me, I hear, Pat, the most frustrating thing or embarrassing thing is to be sitting in someone's office going through with them and trying to get to the meat. And I'm glad, and I think, Caitlin, you've just done a great job, and it helps tremendously. So it'll look different, but be so much easier to understand and retain.
And Patty, I sent that to Paul before our call last Thursday, so I know he's got it as well, but I'll resend it to you.
Yeah, Ben,
Thank you. I just haven't done my homework yet. Thank you.
Okay.
Ben, Martin.
And with so many dedicated arts advocates here, it's a great opportunity for me to say, if you would like to serve on the board of Missouri Citizens for the Arts, please contact me. I just put it over in the chat. And I'm the chair of the nominations committee, so we're always looking for good people to join us.
Thanks, Ben. I also wanted to welcome Sharon Bijor, who's on the call, I noticed, who is our chairwoman of the Missouri Arts Council. So thank you, Sharon, for joining us. I don't know if you want to say anything before the big day.
Well, thank you, Kyna. We just can't say enough about how much we appreciate all the advocacy that's done on behalf of the Missouri Arts Council. So, and gaining state funding. So it's so important that we have the advocates out there on February 5th and really meeting with those legislators. But as you say, starting those relationships or keeping them going. And there are a lot of new legislators to educate, as you said. And that's a big task every year. And I highlight the big.
Yeah. And I know one thing I didn't mention, in addition to the new governor, Kehoe, we have a new lieutenant governor, David Wassinger, who actually, the Missouri Arts Council budget is under the lieutenant governor's budget. So Sharon and I met him at the inauguration last Monday, or have been talking to him, and I know Michael Donovan was meeting with him today. So trying to get him up to speed on how important the arts are in the state, too.
Yeah, and he said at that time, he said he had a lot to learn, so he seemed open to ideas. And he works very closely with Michael in the office of the Missouri Arts Council.
All right, thanks, Sharon. Liz asked, how do we make appointments to meet with them on the 5th? So, good question. The Senate, my favorite place to look it up is the Senate website has a little link that says legislator lookup. Let me see if I can pull that up and give you the link on that real quick. Because then this will take you to your legislators. Thank you, Ben. There you go. Glad I got all these volunteers online. So it's just Missouri, it's www.senate.mo.gov and click on that. It'll ask you for your street address, and then that will take you to who your state rep and who your state senators are. And you click on that link, it will give you like all their contact information, how to email them or call them or what office number they're in. It'll tell you what committees they're on. So when I said try to do a little homework before you get up there, you can see a biography on them. Do they have kids? What church they go to. I mean, all that information's on their biography. So take a few minutes to look at those two websites for your House member and your Senate member. And that should help you out, Liz. Did that answer your question? Okay, great. I saw a thumbs up. Okay.
Kyna, can I ask a question about that?
Sure,
Related?
Ben.
So I was chatting with Peter Meredith last week and talked to you last week. I certainly am plan to meet with my legislators. Where I live is very friendly to this cause. Would it be, is it possible, would it be useful or possible to try to meet with other legislators that where, like, for instance, my organization serves children from their groups, and or maybe seek out reps who are on the budget committee? I mean, is that something to pursue?
Yes. And so those committees just came out. And so, Caitlin, we need to send that people that names of the people that are on that list. And I'll put in what area they're from. But
It's
that's
on the same site. I've been looking at the budget committee this entire call. It's
okay.
on very similar. I'll pop the link in, but keep talking, please.
Yeah. So it's so important that we at least have a touch from everybody in that area. And when Matt gives us the list of funded programs, for example, in St. Louis, there are a lot of headquarters in Grand Center, arts headquarters or executive offices. But we know that those arts programs draw from people all over the state, not only just the St. Louis area, maybe Jefferson County, St. Charles County. And so we had this conversation with the symphony last week. I think it's important if you guys can help us cover some of those other areas that aren't right in your backyard, but that you have audiences that are in that vicinity. That's just as important because those are the people that we really have trouble finding advocates to reach out to. So, yes, you don't have to definitely hit your person you vote for, or your constituent of, hit them first, and then anybody that's in that area would be.
Yeah,
I'd say anybody you serve in, your hometown.
Yeah.
If you can find a tie in some way, it's always better to reach their office versus having nobody speak to them, right? And so there's a few of us who are always game to talk to some of those offices.
Yeah, I always go to like the district I live in, the district I work in, where I was raised, my hometown, where I went to college, all of those places, I have art stories to share of things happening in their district.
Or even if you drove through town and made a stop and went to, the local gallery, that might be enough to make a connection.
And we usually do, after the briefing at the Truman Building, have some packets that people haven't picked up for certain parts of the state. And so we could always use everybody's help kind of with distributing that to some of these offices. I know it's hard. You can't make an appointment ahead of time, but at least we've got that packet of information delivered to that person. So if you do plan on coming up on February 5th, we could certainly use your help with that as well.
A quick warning here on grabbing those packets on the table. Wait until the end of the briefing to grab ones that are not necessarily your area. At times, those of us who actually are scheduled to have an appointment in one of the offices ends up missing a packet because someone got excited and said, "Oh yeah, I could cover this too." So yeah, just wait until the end of the briefing. That'd be great.
Sound like you've done this before, Ben.
All right. We're coming to the close of our meeting now. Does anyone else have any last minute questions? Right, I don't see any. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, we'll follow up with lots of information that we shared today. And we thank you and hope to see you on February 5th. Have a wonderful day.